This is the September 13th Harbor Management Commission Mooring Committee meeting in first floor of Sullivan Independence Hall and also by conference. We have Jack Hirschler, me, Jeff Warren, Kim Taylor, Bill Perugini. Jeff Stedman is absent today, but we can proceed. The first item on our near end of season meeting agenda is the Harbor Master's report. Mr. Harbor Master?
Don't say that, near end of season. It's Brian LeClaire. Everything is going well in the harbor. A lot of the time since the last meeting has been spent dealing with mooring connection management by the boats. You know, we've had some boats that have connected improperly. The Yacht Club did its survey. Travis and Jeff sent me a report. And I go out there, I'm probably 3-4 days on the dinghy every week, checking out people's moorings. I've instructed people not to use carabiners to connect to the moorings, as some of them have been doing, especially the cheap store ones, as we know they're not structural. I've stopped people from using their own lines as opposed to the provided lines. I've had to instruct some people about how to properly tie to a cleat without coming up at an odd angle or chafing your gear on the boat, just to prevent a boat from coming loose and pinballing up the channel. I had to retie several boats that were tied improperly and speak to the owners, cautioning them or the people using their boats to please secure them correctly so they don't lift up a mooring, pop a mooring up, or drag a mooring. One boat bumped into another boat 2 weekends ago. Someone tied their whaler up improperly when they were out, and it drifted into the boat behind them, and I caught the anchor on the other boat gouging the engine, so I just moved the whaler up, tied it up properly, and told both of them what I had done, and I haven't heard back from either one of them, so they must be, I don't think there was any damage to the boat. It was bumping. The anchor took care of that, and the other one was tied with too long a line that didn't take into account the current. It's working out well, having the Yacht Club manage the North Anchorage, I think. The stickers around the boats, they provide me a list when I need it. I think this is it's a better system to let them manage their moorings than trying to let us micromanage what boats are where, when. They do a good job moving boats. They've done a good job with the transients. I've been watching that. They're very accommodating and very helpful to transients coming in. We always have room for those boats, which is nice. So that's working out well. And the rest of my time I spend, patrolling around, dealing with the children, and swimming. And I think one thing we do need to do next year is probably, and I was chatting with Mr. Carroll about this, my predecessor, is meeting with the country club people and the staff early in the season. I've several times told them not to go swimming, and I don't see that as an issue. It's very unsafe, as you know, swimming, especially when the tide goes out. It's very steep when you go near the pilings across to the country club. And there's a little bit of, I don't want to call it a rip, there's a current there when the tide is low and the river's going out, and you'll see that it gets a little choppy. So between us and the Fairfield Police, they've warned people. We don't have that as an issue. This past weekend, I saw some kids at low tide scaling the wall, some younger kids, climbing down, going along the edge, and then messing around where the pipe flows out for the country club. And that's really dangerous. It was getting dark, pretty dark out. And they're there, of course, unchaperoned. So I had to chase them out, and that lasted 10 minutes until I parked the dinghy, and then they were back again. So I had to put a very quick and loud end to that. And security came over from the country club, as did the parents. As I was bellowing at them with the megahorn, instructing them that you don't get 2 warnings from me, you get 1. Just get out of there, get over the wall. So I think we should, tell the club to watch this, have the staff, have the security, watch the kids going over the wall, and when the lifeguards see something like that, kids going that way with bathing suits and towels, call them back for their own safety so nothing happens.
Is it worth it at this point to get in touch with the country club manager?
That's just wondering, is it this year, do we want to start, maybe we talk to him, maybe I should talk to him this year, some of the things I've seen, and say next year I'll remind you at the beginning. You want me to do that? Do you want me to do it with you, Madam Chairman?
I'll do whatever you want to do. He's very accommodating.
They should just know.
Yeah.
For their own safety, their own members,
exactly.
and the kids. I'll coordinate with you reaching out to him and just stopping by someday and talking.
Especially liability.
Yeah, I don't want to see anyone. We don't want to see any kid get hurt, no. and obviously. And the rest of the time I spend a lot of time reminding the kayakers and paddle boarders they have to have a PFD with them on the boat. They don't have to wear it, but they've got to have one with them. And a lot of them don't know that because no one's told them that. And that's just for their own safety and for everyone's. But the boats have been great. Other than that, we've had no issues with boats coming in fast. I've seen none of it. The speed buoys are great. We might need to relabel them or repaint them or re-sticker them, the slow buoys, the no wake buoys. I had a new sign put up at the end of the jetty, a speed sign, a 6-mile-an-hour speed. The town built me a new sign because it became faded and it got put up. So that's good.
Great.
And the buoy we put in, that you authorized for the monitoring, the USGS is holding its position and it's worked out fine. It's actually nice there. It marks the curve like we talked about.
Absolutely.
That's actually another mark at nighttime coming in.
Yeah, good.
So,
It might be good at this time of year to reach out to boaters about putting their current registration into the online mooring system, or at least save a photo of it, because people store the documents with their boat sometimes. Same thing for their insurance document, if they're going to be storing it in the boat for the winter someplace else. This would be a good opportunity to have that all set for the winter renewal without having people to chase in the spring.
That is a good idea, doing that. And I have not heard back. I have to follow up with them about our system and how we're going to keep that from being a problem. That we had a glitch in the system, which I don't think I've reported. We were data wasn't there. Things that were there were not there anymore, like registrations and insurance that I know were there when I issued the permits, and they disappeared. So it turns out they were there, but there was something with the labeling and the expiration dates on them, they think, and they were...
When the person put their expiration date in the system in addition to the document, the expiration date being passed got rid of the image.
The image goes away.
They didn't lose it.
It shouldn't do that.
It didn't show it.
And originally, I believe the first year we had the system, that didn't happen.
I don't recall that happening.
Because we could tell by looking at the lineup whose registration had expired. I mean, we knew that, not because it had disappeared, but from the dashboard.
Right.
There.
They probably thought they were improving things by doing that, but they were not helping us.
No, it doesn't. Maybe they thought they were helping us because when it expired, then I would have to go back to each one and say, oh, your registration expired, where's your new one? Even though it's after I gave you the permit.
Right.
But then I'd have to go back constantly every day through 100 moorings to see who's missing what, because there's no flag. I don't get the alert. I don't get an alert automatically from online mooring.
Right.
So look, the good news is, Jack was right. We didn't lose anything. That was the biggest worry. Nothing is lost, and we will not lose the safe boating certificates. They're perpetual. So we'll correct this over the winter. That's not.
We want to see whichever one was approved or a more recent one showing in the system.
Exactly.
If they put in something more recent, show us that.
Exactly.
If they didn't put in something more recent, show us the one that was in there in the wintertime.
I need it so if something happens, I can call up fast the registration and know the owner and know whose boat that is.
Absolutely.
I really believe they thought they were helping the harbor master because they're out of date, but they're not.
Just got panicked when everything disappeared. There's also, for anyone interested, at November 3rd, I just got an email before the meeting started. They're going to have an online mooring online seminar about their software. I'll circulate it to you folks if you have any desire to
I should
listen to. Last year they used us as an example because we have the most complicated, apparently, set of rules and systems, which I didn't think so, but we're a model for them to discuss. Southport.
I brought the report from Stonington Harbor from their commission to show since
it's great.
Other than that, things are great. It's fine.
Questions for the? So the boat is working out okay?
My little boat?
Yeah.
At this moment. It's the engine is on its last legs. It will die. Usually it's the wrong time. And then it won't go to idle anymore. It doesn't seem to like to idle, so I have to jam it in gear. But so I did talk to Larry about it at Marine Sports, and he suggested I make sure I keep the oars on board.
Oh, nice.
That's the solution.
That's his solution. And his son is like shaking his head.
Yeah.
But because it is, I have to go up Pine Creek, which I've done a few times, and I'm always a little leery. So I'm going to look for an engine myself. I'm going to the Atlantic City Boat Show next month, and I'm going to start poking around and seeing.
Well, certainly you're going to give us gas and mileage
mileage for?
Gas anyway.
Yes, oh yeah, I don't with the
receipts.
the mileage, I go there every day to the harbor at one point, I'm close,
Okay.
that's not a big deal.
Okay.
And I'm lucky for my home office, I could pick up the harbor on 69, so I can listen to
great.
everything all the time, so it's really nice to sit at home and I know everything going on, and in case there's a problem, I can catch it right away if the yacht club has an issue with someone or something, I could be there within 2 minutes. But with gas, the club has been nice enough to set up an account for me to fill up the boat, and I just got my first bill and I turned it in
Great.
this afternoon on their statement, so that they
Good.
will,
Great.
we can just
That's
charge.
great.
And it's not a lot, it's like
Doesn't
$80,
matter.
but
Yeah.
whatever it is, so it's.
Jeff Engborg, can I just ask you to weigh in on the Harbor Master's report about the new system from the club's perspective also? Do you guys feel good about the new rules? This is their first year. Is that working out from your guys' perspective? Anything that the commission should be aware of about the implementation of that?
Oh, hello, everybody. We're very happy with how it's working out, and it's nice to work with Brian. We have a good rapport, and we're watching out for each other, and it's been very effective, and it's been a great season.
Yeah. But the North Anchorage administrative record-keeping stuff is working for you guys?
Yes, sir. Working fine. Yeah, there hasn't been a hitch. We've got a lot of boats away cruising, so it's been pretty easy for us. We're not full at the moment.
Yeah. And looking towards the winter renewal process, we're all good with that? The way we did it this last year is the way we would plan to do it again under our rules,
Yes.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
One thing while we're on, while Jeff is here, it just reminded me when you said winter, they're having a J109 regatta coming up. And remind me that was October what, Jeff?
11.
11th through 16th, I believe. Sorry, I'm driving.
11th.
I can't look at the calendar.
Yeah, 11th to the 15th. So, we've spoken to Jeff about, putting in the 20 or 30, whatever boats that are visiting. And, we're going to just put them on our mooring. We'll have room. We'll have boats coming out by then, and Jeff and I will coordinate, and, we'll find a way to get those boats to fit somewhere so they can have a good event.
Great.
I'm coordinating with the Fairfield Police so they know what's going on, so if they want to send their patrol boat out during the day, or just be aware there's a lot of boats sailing and racing.
Okay.
They should know that as well. But we'll have room. We'll make room for them in the harbor one way or the other, even whether it's on a town mooring that's strong enough, or we should be fine by October with boats gone.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah. Should be fine.
What's our deadline for folks to be out?
November 15th?
April 15th
November.
Is it November 15th?
Is it November 15th?
Isn't it?
I don't know. Let's look at our own rules.
I'll double check. I don't.
I know
didn't
it's
bring the
April
rules.
15th. I don't know what the.
I try not to look at the end of the season yet.
Yeah.
These nice
Okay.
days. It's,
Yeah, I mean,
I'll send a
sometimes
reminder.
we have to
ahead of time.
sometimes do some chasing, yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else on Harbor? Oh, there was one thing that Jeff Stedman brought to my attention when I talked to him earlier today. Out of our jurisdiction, but there is a concern with somebody with an amphibious vehicle operating up into
Ash Creek.
Ash Creek,
Like a duck boat kind of thing?
something like that, and doing
launch.
damage to the wetland area up in there. It wasn't clear to me nor to Jeff whether this is in the town of Fairfield
No.
in your jurisdiction, or whether it's on the other side and actually in
It
Bridgeport.
was in I happen to know about it. It was in the Bridgeport side of Black Rock, or the
Okay.
Black Rock side of Ash Creek.
Yeah.
And apparently, this person had one of those four-wheel wide ATV kinds of machines.
The quad things?
Yeah. And he didn't get very far.
Oh, it wasn't a boat, a
No.
car boat kind of thing?
He was
Okay.
driving around. I guess it was
An
at low
ATV type thing,
tide. And, the big concern was that that's where all of the shellfish
Right.
commission's work is being done. And so this person, who's apparently fairly well known in Bridgeport, decided that he was going to take a joyride around. And several people have spoken to him. I guess Tim Bishop has spoken to him, and maybe even the police. I'm not quite sure, but he's been warned about what's going on over there in case he didn't know, number one. And number two, he really didn't get very far, and so they don't think there's too much
Okay, but it's
damage.
not in either of our jurisdictions, not the
Right,
harbor master,
right,
not ours. Okay,
right.
I just.
Right,
the only
that's
thing I
Shellfish
thought-
Commission and police, I think.
Okay.
It could be ours if he comes into our area and tries to.
But that's like
Right.
swinging, if it's
Right.
around, isn't there a split there? I've never navigated.
There is,
that.
well, on the right, when you come in, left is Fairfield,
Right,
Marina,
right, yeah,
and then
so
to
they
the right,
got right.
to the right is part Fairfield, because you've got those houses on the left that are Fairfield
And the ones
residences.
on the right.
At the end of, what's that street?
Route 1.
Riverside Avenue,
Riverside.
and then that little street that comes off of Riverside where they've got docks, it's
Yeah,
that dead end, right
yeah,
before Vinnie's
Yeah,
used to be.
Yeah,
And the, yeah.
but I used to row back up in there, and you come
Mm.
in, and there's a big giant island sort of in the middle, and that separates sort of the Fairfield, canal, if you will, from the one that goes around towards Bridgeport, and I assume it was over on the
Up
far
inside,
side.
okay, okay. All right.
Anyway.
The other thing I put on the agenda was just a status update on the recruiting process in anticipation of our discussion next week, where we're at in terms of the advertising and opening the recruiting for the deputy harbor master.
Yeah, I just reviewed, so Brian circulated the job description, which I think, so it's the three of us, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
But I just looked at my notes. I'm not sure if I ever sent that out, so I think I was gonna review. But, so I think everything that you.
I just redlined it to make it an assistant position.
Yeah,
and
it was,
tweaked a little bit.
it was appropriate, and I think, so we still need to circulate it to the appropriate bodies and the town website to send the word, so that's
All
on
right, so we
me.
want to get them to the two yacht clubs, I guess, the Black Rock and the Pequot, and if we can, get one of the local
Fairweather.
papers to pick up, what?
Fairweather.
Fairweather, yeah, and last time, we got into the
The patch as well.
patch, right, the other one was not very receptive to doing that.
Which one was the other one?
The other,
Citizen?
yeah, I forget what the other.
The Post?
Yeah, whatever, the one I was able to just go onto their website and get
It was in the patch, I
the
think.
patch, yeah.
Gotcha.
And
And the
then-
town website, I think, would be the most appropriate.
I think the
Oh,
one that's
absolutely.
gonna be
and
read the most might be the First Select Woman's weekly news.
And our mailing list.
Right, and.
Harbor
And
list.
Brian-
The boat list, and the yacht club, and the yacht club
Online mooring.
list, yeah.
I think we're gonna get some applicants from this.
I know at least one already.
You have one already.
Yeah.
Who told me he was
Yeah.
interested in.
I as well.
Yeah, so we just need to get this thing going.
Yeah, I'll knock that off this evening.
Okay.
So your red line, so everything was appropriate? We'll
Yes,
just
it's
modify.
basically my description,
Yeah.
except it's to assist the harbor master as opposed to.
Right.
For the First Select Woman's, we probably need a paragraph just to say, this will be attached, or.
Or a link.
To it or
We need to
something.
link.
A link.
A
That
link
was-
and
that
a
was what we
paragraph, you
discussed.
can't give her the whole job
No,
description.
IT could link it to.
Right, so just a quick.
That's right,
paragraph.
that's-
Oh, you talked about putting it on our website, the Harbor Management Commission website,
Right.
as a document, and then you can link to that document.
Right.
And then have Brenda send the
Yeah.
link out.
It's coming back to me now. And
Right.
so Betty would be able
Help
to
you with
provide.
coordinating that.
But you have to give Betty the paragraph, because you don't want a paragraph that you want circulated in the First Select Woman's newsletter,
Right.
and then the job description,
So the link will go right to that. So
to the job description.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Betty's gonna be moving soon, in the next few weeks as well. They're relocating her from here to the Public Works Garage, because they're redoing the office space. They're gonna bring her back after several months, but there's gonna be
And who were you referring to?
Betty,
Betty.
Okay, her office.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just the physical one.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
So we didn't write up that separate paragraph yet.
No,
Correct.
no.
Correct.
This is just something like the Harbor Management Commission announces that it's seeking candidates for, it's just something similar.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
And for a description of that and the deadline for application, press this link or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And Betty reminds me too today that you have to start thinking about a budget for next year.
Yes,
I'm going to pass it on the messenger. Is it?
we have a budget, yes.
Okay, I'm just saying, but she said start thinking about what you wanted it for next year, 'cause
If
it's
we-
September, and then
Right.
you need to give her that info.
If we want to increase our fees or ask the RTM for more money, we need to start thinking about it.
Correct.
On the other hand, we have several accounts
Mhm.
that do very nicely cover an awful lot of our expenses. So this year, in the money that we request from the RTM, which goes for professional
Mhm.
fees for the harbor master and for Jeff and for Betty, we had, I think, about $1,000 left over.
Okay.
So I think not only do we want to make sure that we think about our increased expenses for next year, but we want to be sure that we plan and put in, expense reports
Right.
in enough time to use up every bit of money that we
Use
have.
it up and then figure out what we want next year. And I know, I think we haven't raised Pequot's fee. I don't know that they've asked for an increase in a while for their services. So if that's going to go up, or we should consider.
Well, that would come out of the 102 account.
Okay, I don't.
The harbor, the money that we get from the RTM is simply for professional fees and services.
Okay.
So it's you, Jeff, mailing, Betty's time, postage, that kind of stuff. The money that we pay our mooring contractor with comes from the mooring fees, and that's set aside in a separate account.
Okay.
And the money from the mooring fees goes only into that account. And that money can be used for anything that will benefit or improve the harbor.
And do we have to, when you set your fees, do you have to do them at some point before, I guess, I send the bills out?
Right.
If we're going to change.
We have to see, is there enough, or do we have enough money to cover our expenses?
We have plenty of money. I've asked, in fact, Jeff Engborg has promised to send the commission a bill for the work that he did this last spring inspecting the moorings, which will be very small because it was the year that he inspects the North Anchorage and not the other two sections of the harbor. So, but he has promised to send us that bill and to give us a sort of a very top-line estimate of what the costs are going to be to inspect and pull and do all the work related to doing the another town
Right.
section next year. So we should know by the end of the year what it's going to cost, what Pequot, ballpark Pequot will be charging us to manage the mooring field for next year.
Okay.
So, but in any event, we have
enough.
We have plenty of
With all the costs going up with fuel, and I'm sure they're expensive
Correct.
to be,
Correct.
it's getting very expensive to.
The price of fuel is radically different this year than it was 2 years ago. What are the typical annual expenses? I mean, how much does it, what do we typically budget?
We requested from the RTM in the ballpark of $30,000. And that covers, as I say, that covers the harbor master fees, that covers Betty's fees, that covers Jeff Stedman's fees, that any mailing that we do is covered by that, any printing that we do is covered by that. But that's pretty much what comes out of the RTM money. If we have to do any kind of soil sampling or hire the botanist and hire the Audubon to do the bird watching, that all comes out of the town appropriated money.
But the tackle stuff that we were talking about with Pequot, maintaining, if they have to buy new tackle or beef up the tackle we talked about, that would come out of that 102 account that Kim was talking about, the harbor management account, not managed by the RTM, not in purview at all.
So Betty's an employee of the town.
Yeah.
Correct, but she works extra on our behalf to do the minutes and to take the minutes, and so it's a very minimal amount. I mean,
Okay.
she works much harder than what she gets paid for.
Sure.
A very minimal amount, but that comes, she does that every month, so that's
Got it. So it's on top of her compensation from the town.
Correct.
Town of Fairfield.
correct.
And the Audubon fees for the bird
Well, we
watching?
had to monitor the piping plover nesting for many, many years over on the Country Club beach. It has been attached to wanting to get that area dredged. And so we had to hire somebody, an expert, to come in and tell us whether or not there was any kind of nesting there and whether or not, and we had to report that to the Army Corps of Engineers. And that has to pass muster with not only the Army Corps, but with DEEP in order to do that dredging over there. The same thing with the panic grass that's over there. That has to be monitored by a botanist that we hire.
Wow.
And the botanist tells us, A, that it's a rare thing, B, that it's healthy or it's not healthy, or it's spreading or it's not spreading, and this is where it needs to be. But that's all a professional fee that comes out of the money that's appropriated by the
Interesting,
town.
between ornithologists, I guess, and
Absolutely.
botanists, and this is a very
Absolutely.
eclectic array of
Absolutely.
professionals.
Just-
Very complex ecosystem.
Yeah.
That's interesting,
Yeah.
Just to
You don't mind
be
me
able to get
inquiring, but that's
permits.
interesting to know.
Just to get permits to dredge the harbor so people can boat here, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Is the mooring management thing with Pequot, it's so open to bid for other people?
It was years ago by our predecessors. an agreement between the town and Pequot that requires them to perform those services at their cost. So it's not really practical, and we learned the hard way from having sent it out to bid that their expertise, coupled with the terms under which they do it, just doesn't make it sensible, I think, to put it out to bid.
There's not a requirement to be bid on.
No.
Well, and the amount of money that they bill us annually, it has to be below, and I forget what the number is.
15,000, I think, yeah.
Is it 17 or 15? There's a number, and as long as it's below that number,
Doesn't have to.
we're good.
Oh, okay.
Which is, yeah,
That's worked out for us.
yeah, it's worked.
And we work with the yacht club to make sure we stay within that. But there's a written agreement between the club and a previous first selectman over the basis on which the charging occurs between the club and the town.
And generally, there's the memorandum of agreement between the town and the yacht club. And that included in that memorandum of agreement is that the yacht club is obliged to provide water, pump out, those kinds of services. And we retain them to provide the mooring, tackle, maintenance at cost.
Yeah.
So that's part of the MOA and part of that agreement.
Yeah.
Is there any MOA or collaboration between the Harbor Management Commission and the Country Club of Fairfield?
No.
No.
Yeah, actually there was, back in and I'm sorry Jeff Stedman's not here because he could, I'm sure he could correct me, but,
Or Mr. Carroll.
Pat Carroll may be able to correct me too, but, when the piping plovers were first discovered nesting over there on the corner of the spit there that juts out into the channel, one of the conditions for getting dredged is to make sure there are no piping plovers there. So the country club agreed with Deep that they would cordon that area off. And I don't know if you've ever walked over there in the past, but there used to be lines up and signs that kept people and dogs out of the potential nesting area. And that agreement was between the country club and Deep. And thank you to the country club for, getting involved, because otherwise we'd be having a hard time getting that area dredged.
Interesting.
So.
Yeah, interesting.
So yes, the country club has been a part of this in the past. And from all indications, they are happy to cooperate moving forward and to help us, allow the Currituck and the trucks to come, land on their property, if you will, for a short period of time, for the dredged material to be maintained on their property until the Currituck can get it out to dump it. So, they're very much agreeable to what it is we need to do in order to make the mouth of the river stay open.
Interesting. Thank you for that.
All right, so we have a game plan for the deputy harbor master pursuit and interviewing process. I think we're set for next week with respect to the mooring committee. Bill is going to host next month's meeting. I will be out of the country, so okay. Bill has graciously offered to do that, so that will be great. And if there's nothing else, we can be adjourned. Oh, any comments from the public, Pat, or others?
No, except that I know it's late in the season, but notifying the staff at the clubs at the beach, it would be very, very important to control to some degree the situation that our harbor master has been talking about. I worry about the kids as they come across onto the sand dune, because as Brian has described, you stand on the edge of that and it just seeps away from you. So contacting Tim, is it Denahue?
Minahan.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure that he would be more than happy to make our concerns known to the beach club personnel. Even though it's late in the season, it might be worthwhile stopping by, as Brian said he would do. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you. And Jeff Engborg, anything else from you? All right, hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.